You have been at the forefront of cultural strategy, talent management, brand development, looking into very big people like Snoop Dogg. You've been managing him, David Banner, Quincy Jones, Ice Cube, and then looking into lifestyle brands.
Kind of got a name for myself in the office, and I met an AD who was like doing these music videos and stuff, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he's like, hey, why don't you come out tomorrow? I got a job on this music video, you should come out. That's how I met Snoop. Like the producer's like, hey, we need you to go meet Snoop. We had some words, he was on a good mood. I handled it the way I handled it, and he ended up just being like, hey, you know what? I like the way we connected, and you dealt with me, I guess. He connected me to his manager. They brought me into the management company that he was at, and they just sat me down, and they're like, hey, you know what? You might not know the music business, but you know how to talk to talent. Before Beats Inc., it was Beats By Dre. We came up with full strategies for that, right? So we were technically a part of that first team. We were there in the beginning, and it was really cool. They used to call it channel marketing, which was just like, how does your product get positioned in each retail store? It was all retail driven. We're just a bunch of kids coming up with like, what's hot?
Right.
And like a CEO's going, hell yeah, let's do that. We're like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? YouTube was coming around, so I was like, I want to start a YouTube business, like a channel. Digital distribution made sense to me, and we started a YouTube channel, and it was like MTV on the internet. That was my transition from music into me being an entrepreneur, really, really embracing the significance of the moment and like what I culturally knew as a young person.
Welcome to Beyond Luxury, where we explore emerging trends and take them one step further. Join us as we redefine the meaning of luxury in today's ever-evolving world. Building on the themes of my book, Beyond Luxury, The Promise of Emotion, we invite thought leaders from fashion, beauty, wellness, travel, hospitality, culture, and tech to share their insights and story. Kai, thank you so much for being here in London in Platoon 7, the Apple Podcast Studios. Thanks for coming all the way here from LA. And I'm super excited for this amazing conversation. You have been at the forefront of cultural strategy, talent management, brand development, looking into very big people like Snoop Dogg. You've been managing him, David Banner, Quincy Jones, Ice Cube, and then looking into lifestyle brands and working in really developing their creation in Beats By Dre, Soul Republic, SkeeTV, on Noir, and a lot more. Especially now recently, you were a chief strategy officer for Fazzy Clan.
Phase.
Is that how you say it?
Okay,
Fazzy.
I like that,
I was
though.
like,
That's
capital
fancy.
Z.
That's fancy.
Ooh, Fazzy.
Fazzy? I like that.
Okay, Phase
Yeah.
Clan. And you were really looking at the intersection of technology, creativity, and commerce. And that is so much what we're looking into right now as we look into the future of where everything's going to roll out into. And now you're working on a very special venture, a new venture called Fewture Co. I think we were going to have to talk about how the spelling of future also came about. And you have really drawn this really nice, unique career path that has touched culture, strategy, innovation, brand development, lifestyle, and now looking also with Web3 and all these types of technology with new creators. So I'm interested to kind of jump into your story and look into how all of this goes together and how you've gotten here today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I definitely wanted to be here in person when you sent the invite. So I just figured I'm tired of like the kind of virtual calls, meetings, and podcasts. When we met, it was just like, we met at Cannes. We sat down together in the moment, just started talking like literally like a podcast. We just started sharing information. Yeah. So I wanted to just like meet that energy and be here in person. So I appreciate you having me.
I love that.
Yeah,
I remember exactly when we had that conversation. I was like, do you want to come on my podcast? I wish this conversation would have been recorded.
Yeah, I kind of blacked out. We just started sharing information, and I'm like, yeah, we should have recorded that.
Yeah.
But it was an intro that, I think Chelsea made. She made between us. So, I don't know my story. When you say it like that, it makes me feel really old, just because I've been, throwing myself in these different industries since I was like 21. I'm 43 now, so it just kind of was a career path that I never really anticipated early on. I wanted to, really be in film initially. I was like a college athlete, I ended up dropping out of school. My mom, was a pioneering visual effects supervisor in Hollywood. So,
Wow.
she won like BAFTA awards and stuff like that, like really being at the forefront of like digital innovation with film in the 80s and 90s. And so like I had caught some of that just from being around her and her like breaking down technology to me as I was a kid and like,
Yeah.
and film, so I always wanted to be like a filmmaker, I guess. And then, I wanted to be a director, I think, in the beginning. So I started PAing on music videos and commercials and just trying to get on set in any way I could and learn that way instead of going to film school. And it was kind of crazy. The way I got to that point was I don't know how to say it. I was like trespassing on production, like at these different production companies. I like pull up to the front, like there's like someone at the reception of these companies, and I just walk in and I'm like, hey, I'm the new intern. My name's Kai, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, cool. And like whoever was at the front would just walk me in. And so I started, I got kicked out of a couple of places once they kind of figured out who I was, but there was like 2 spots that just never checked. And so I like had a desk and, I was just like trying to meet somebody in there. And I just tell people I'm the new intern and like kind of got a name for myself in the office. And I met an AD who was like doing these music videos and stuff. And I told him what I wanted to do. And he's like, hey, why don't you come out tomorrow? I got a job on this music video. You should come out. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I started doing that and basically became like a professional PA in Hollywood. Like I was doing all these music videos and, commercials. And that's how I met Snoop, So like I was on this path towards production and film and making content. And I met Snoop on one of his music videos. The person that was handling him on set, let's just say, got released early. And like the producer's like, hey, we need you to go meet Snoop. Go on his trailer, get him ready. It's like 6 a.m, And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm walking over there. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, I grew up on Snoop's music. Like, this is cool. I'm a West Coast LA kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I grew up on his music. I'm about to meet Snoop Dogg, and I go on his bus, and he's just like not in the mood to like get on set at that moment. You know what I mean? So, we had some words. He was not in a good mood. I handled it the way I handled it, and he ended up just being like, hey, you know what? I like the way we connected, and you dealt with me, I guess, and he connected me to his manager at that time, who I was kind of looking around the set, and I'm looking for his manager, like, who's the, I had a different image of what Snoop Dogg's manager was going to be, and it ended up being this 5'3" woman named Constance, who she might have been 5'3", but she was the boss. You know what I mean? She was running shit. She was making sure everything was right, and me and her got a good relationship. And they brought me into the management company that he was at, and they just sat me down and they're like, hey, you know what? You might not know the music business, but you know how to talk to talent. You know how to work with talent. You know what I mean? And so we could teach you the music business. And at that point in time, I'm like, I don't even know what the music business is. I'm like, cool, sure. You know what I mean? Like, does that mean I have to be in an office all day? Because I want to be on set.
Right.
And they were like, come to this company. It was called The Firm at the time. Give us a year. We'll teach you the business. And that's how it started. So like my whole entertainment career started as me just like on a fluke, like meeting Snoop, him liking me, bringing me into his management company. I'm 24 at the time. I'm now managing Snoop Dogg or co-managing him, and I know nothing. I literally I had a corner office in Beverly Hills at this huge company called The Firm. I have a 30-year-old assistant. I'm 24, and I would like go in my office and lock the door, just sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing in here? Like I didn't know anything,
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's just how it started. Everything for me started with that and that type of like mentorship that came from Snoop, who to this day has just been constantly reimagining his own career and reinventing himself and his brand. And then this woman, Constance, who just like took me under her wing and just like, I grew up a certain way, so she treated me with love, but it was like tough love. And I respected that. Like I grew up like that a little bit. So she was a great mentor for me, like just teaching me about the business. Cut my teeth in the music business. Early 2000s was a big deal, and yeah, so that's how everything started. That's my whole like connection to Snoop and music and stuff like that was just getting introduced to the business in that way.
That's incredible. I love that story.
Yeah.
And that's such a proof of unconventional paths and how unconventional paths make incredible, very multifaceted people.
Yeah.
So love that.
Yeah, that's Hollywood. That was LA. That's Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I loved about LA, what it brought to, you know, you could do anything in that city, in that town, you know, so.
And how did you jump over from talent management, from Snoop really to other talent, and then from that to, I want to develop a lifestyle brand?
Sure. I mean, this is kind of a long story. These are like 3-4 year chunks, you know, but like, I started realizing quickly the reason why Snoop like probably liked me was because I grew up on his music, you know what I mean? And like, I represented his culture, and he could put me in like an institutional, you know, company and corporation as an inside man that understood his culture. Right. Which, and I was young. And so, you know, that really, it taught me how to like always see younger people as talent if they're talented, and to really engage with them in a certain way and bring them to the table. You know, that's traditionally not a table for young people. You have to, you know, walk through your 2 miles in the, you know, snow to, you know, gone through a certain kind of career path to actually be able to sit at that table. Like, I got expedited and brought to that table early. So, you know, I started working with him creatively, and he started having me listen to his music and ask me what I thought, and, you know, what are other producers out there? Who are you hearing out there? You know, so I started working more in this A&R capacity while I was learning the business, and just like more being like a creative soundboard for a legend like Snoop early on, which I wasn't the only one, but the fact that he wanted me in there was pretty crazy to me. And then that just kind of word got around that like there's this young dude that like Snoop likes, you know what I mean? And we're at a big management company, so we had Ice Cube was already there. You know, it was like J-Lo, Michael Jackson, Korn, Linkin Park. It was like one of the biggest management companies in the world, comprised of the most legendary managers in the world, all in one place, right? And so so like managers are just like, hey, can you go in the studio with Backstreet Boys tonight? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to sit in there and say, they like give you 2 thumbs up on records I hear, sure. So that's how it kind of started. I started working with Cube a little bit, which like he manages himself. I never been with an artist. He's a businessman. Like he didn't need much management like day to day, you know? So he'd like beat me down to the car when we'd be on the road, like doing promo for his album. I'd like come downstairs and like he's already sitting in the car, you know what I mean? And I'm early, right? So like that, he's like an anomaly type artist. And then, you know, I really, really learned the music business really by managing like an artist named David Banner, who at that time had major hits, you know, and he was like this Southern artist and producer. He produced for like T.I. He did like Rubber Band Man for T.I. He did all this stuff for Lil Wayne. He had 2 really big, like, top 40 hits. And, like, he was going through a little period in time where he's trying to figure out his label situation. He came to me, wanted me to manage him. I started managing him and, like, really, really learned, like, the radio game and, you know, managing a producer and understanding, you know, publishing and, like, you know, all the mechanics to the business. You know, Snoop was a different way to learn. And then Banner was, like, that's my hands-on learning where I'm, like, really having to, you know, rolling my sleeves up in a certain way, and him teaching me, you know, my artist teaching me the business, which was crazy. But I would say like maybe 3 years into being in the music business, I'm like sitting in a room full of the biggest managers in the world, and I'm probably 25, 26 at that time. And I didn't know anything about what the music business was before I got into it, but I could read, right? So like that, everyone would hand out these like Nielsen SoundScan reports, and you know, you look every week and like the sales are going down significantly every week, like free fall type thing, you know what I mean? And I'm in there and I'm trying to, you know, help everyone else who's 15, 20 years older than me. I'm 25. The next youngest manager is probably late 30s. And it's like, it just dawned on me. I'm like, yo, I'm in here trying to sell music, but like, I steal music. I'm a Napster baby. Like I built my PC to like, not steal music. It was just like, I didn't think about it like that then. It was just like, if you were part of that culture, it was just like, oh, this shit's free now.
Right.
You're not like trying to steal, right? And there was a really big moment for me when I got into the music business and realized, and this is probably not a very popular, standpoint, but like, whatever, I'll say it. Like, I really started understanding that, like, I didn't feel like I was stealing from the artists once I got into the music business. And not that I wasn't indirectly, but directly, I realized I was stealing from record labels and publishers, and you know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, once I understood the business and the mechanics of it and what that real exchange is between artists and, a label or, patron or whatever, publisher, it just put me in a different mental space. So I was just like, you know what, I don't think I want to be in the music business anymore. And I could clearly see this thing consolidating. This is like 2008. I could see it consolidating. I knew, because I managed producers, we should start a publishing company. We should work with DJs. There's this whole wave of EDM coming from Europe. And at that time, I'm going to a bunch of 40, 45, 50-year-olds going, hey, we should start a publishing company. We should do this. We should do that. And they're like, kid, just keep making the money you're making. You know what I mean? Like, we're not, that's not what we do. And this is like pre-360 deal in the music business. And so, like, for me, I was just like, you know what, I need to jump ship and, like, really just throw myself out there and do what I know I should be doing, which is making publishing companies. YouTube was coming around, so I was like, I want to start a YouTube business, like a channel. Like, digital distribution made sense to me. And so I left cold turkey. I left the music business like 2008, 2009. And I started SkeeTV with DJ Ski, who was like a DJ I was managing.
Yep. And
we started a YouTube channel, and it was like MTV on the internet. So that was my transition from music into me being an entrepreneur, and, really, really embracing kind of like the significance of the moment and like what I culturally knew as a young person that was a business person. Yeah, that's how it really happened. I just couldn't wrap my head around selling music anymore.
Right.
And watching the numbers, like, it's clear math, right? Yeah. And like, you're in a room full of people that are older than you, which is fine, but no one's addressing the elephants in the room. And like, I'm like, yo, I gotta bounce. Like, I don't want to be on this ship that's clearly sinking in a certain way.
You knew what was coming, and you wanted to be a part of what was coming.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just knew. It's just like simple math.
Yeah.
It's just, when you have businesses fundamentally rooted in the past, right? And those elephants don't get addressed and people are getting paid off of bloat and cost, that's a dangerous place to be. And so I just knew that. And I've come, that was the beginning of lifestyle products, lifestyle culture in that way, and DIY kind of culture. And I'm just looking at that shit like, we should not be spending $7 million on making an album. Like, we should be spending $2 million, maybe. You know what I mean? Spend the rest on other things, or pocket it, or keep it, or use it for this, or build a brand, or, so I don't know. It's just like propelled me into another space and forced me to be an entrepreneur.
And that's when you found a space to start working with lifestyle brands and pivot into that whole space? Yeah,
I mean, SkeeTV was like a first of its kind YouTube platform. There wasn't anyone like making YouTube companies, right? Like Full Screen, which is a huge company now that I think they got bought by AT&T a few years back. They were starting then, and like, so it was like the beginning of that, young people really understanding what the platform could do, pre-Vivo, ad model, so we used to have to go out and get it. So we're like producing content and going, hey, we should go talk to brands. They should give us bread for this. You know what I mean? Because we're doing Soulja Boy's video, and the label gave it to us to put on our platform because they don't even know what YouTube is.
Right.
So we're running up millions of views on some crazy ass dope like internet kid record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like cold calling Team One, who is the agency for Toyota and Lexus, and like, hey, you want to give us $100,000 for us to put your commercial in the beginning of this Soulja Boy video, or this New Boys video, or Baby Dolls, whatever, like all this shit we were doing. And they're like, yeah, because we're showing them the views. And so it was just like a really cool time to just experiment, with what we knew. And so that was really, again, these are all like these things imprinted on me to like my older self, like what's possible, like the, you know, youth culture and what you know and how much that means to business, not just culture and, you know, brand. It's like if you really know what time it is, you can have a huge impact in a business way. Business is creative. You know what I mean? Like you could do one deal a million different ways. Usually someone who only wants you to do it 2 or 3 ways trying to do their thing. You know what I mean? Like that's the you know, negotiating and doing, you know, however you want to handle your business. But business is creative. And I learned that early, you know.
In the Beyond Luxury episode with Christophe Caillis, we discuss how CXG can help bring this shift to life through bespoke training and workshops and partnering with brands to develop programs that turn teams into true ambassadors who embody the brand's DNA. When it comes to delivering the kind of personalized, high-touch experiences that luxury clients expect, the focus often falls on perfecting the customer journey. But there's another equally important element at play: the experience of the employees themselves. A well-trained, engaged, and empowered team is a true differentiator in creating memorable moments that go beyond the transactional. It's not just about teaching employees how to deliver a service. It's about guiding them to fully embrace the brand's DNA. This transformation turns team members into brand ambassadors who embody the values, voice, and essence of the brand in every interaction. When employees internalize this deep connection, they can move fluidly between delivering exceptional service and creating those signature emotional moments that leave a lasting impact. CXG is a proud sponsor of the Beyond Luxury podcast. It seems like there's this pattern in every step of your life where you don't know what's coming, but you know that you can do it, and the universe is on your side, and it gets you to kind of open up all of these new doors that are making you break through what is the next thing, right? Like you've done it in the music industry, then into with the new creator industry with YouTube, then lifestyle, then Web3, right? Now what you're doing with Fewture. This is such an incredible kind of momentum, and I think that you don't only you really radiate this on the people that you have around you. I've had a chance to meet you for a small amount of time, but enough of your ecosystem to feel that kind of reverberation, and it's so incredible how you pass that down to everything you touch. So it's awesome to kind of hear the story from you.
Thank you.
From that side. Just like as a small side note.
Yeah.
But pivoting back into Beats by Dre, I'd love to know how you got into that and build out that brand that today is, you know, really well incorporated into all of our lives with Apple.
Yeah, I mean, this is a less well-known story about the history of Beats by Dre, but like, you know, before Beats Inc., it was Beats by Dre, right? And that was a partnership between a company called Monster Cable, based out of San Francisco, and, you know, I guess Interscope and you know, Dre and his team, Jimmy and Steve Berman. But I just happened to be in the right place, right time. I was working with, me and Ski were working with Monster Cable, and they were one of the brands that was working with us and putting their content into our content, right? So they were one of our big brands that was paying us to, you know, be on the SkeeTV platform. And, you know, we were in the first initial meetings between that partnership, and the CEO, Noel Lee from Monster Cable, wanted me and Ski to be pretty much like, I guess, like his guinea pigs for like what the product was about to be, you know what I mean? So we had to go test out the product. We went to China, you know, we worked with all the designers. Me and Ski worked on the whole rollout at Beats by me and Ski worked on the whole rollout at Best Buy. And we were, again, like late 20s, not knowing what we're doing, but like we're just sitting there thinking to ourselves, if we were the consumer and we're walking into Best Buy, we would want this, you know what I mean? So we came up with full strategies for Monster Cable for that, right, for Beats by Dre. So we were technically a part of that first team to help launch the product before Beats Inc., right, which a bunch of business stuff happened after that. Monster Cable was no longer a part of Beats by Dre. They took it, made Beats Inc., and, you know, went on after that. But we were there in the beginning, and it was really cool, to think about. They used to call it channel marketing, which was just like, how does your product get positioned in each retail store? It was all retail driven. And so we got to come up with, we're just a bunch of kids coming up with like, what's hot?
Right.
And like a CEO's going, hell yeah, let's do that. We're like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not rocket science. I've been blessed. Like, the bottom line to this whole like little narrative I've been telling is that for some reason, I got blessed to have older humans that were a generation above me, that were in position of power, let me sit at that table and actually let me actuate my vision from what I knew and what I was tapped into. You know what I mean? Which was at that moment the beginning of like lifestyle, product, and brand. And then once I saw Beats by Dre become this like product in between two default brands, Sony and Bose, where it was like that's not a category you can crack, right? But when you infuse it with music, lifestyle, talent, and you infuse that into a product and a brand, it skyrockets, right? And once I saw that, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm doing that with everything. Once I saw that, I was like, I'm going to do that for everything. It's going to be the Beats by Dre version of clothes, of platform, of, you know what I mean? And
right.
That's just the simple philosophy that I'm a really basic thinker in that way. Like, I just keep that simple philosophy through this long period of time. And once that happened, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's do Soul Republic. Monster Cable wanted to do Soul Republic, another headphone company. And so I was a part of that team. And, I really got into EDM and that whole wave I was seeing from before. And just like, okay, Beats is going to be hip hop pop. We're going to get Calvin Harris. We're going to get Nervo Twins. We're going to get, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I knew how to go into a label and be like, yo, let's work on, I know you guys don't want to spend money. So instead of me picking up the phone and calling the manager, like as I'm launching a new headphone company, Soul Republic, I'm like, why don't I just go to the label? Because you're trying to subsidize costs. And for 1/10 of the money that a manager would hit me over the head for association with their artist, I can get an album cycle with the label. And I knew that because I come from the music business.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you could crack that.
100%, So yeah, after that, it was just like, all right, let me start all these other companies in that kind of fashion, in that way, you know? And if I could pay rent and take care of moms for the next 15 years at that point, I was thinking to myself, in my 40s, I got to be a beast. Whatever I do this next 10 years through my 30s, I'm going to win companies. I'm going to lose them. I lost, I'm probably made 15 companies. 13 of them were trash. You know what I mean? Like, not that, like, the people and the humans and everything I did was right heart, right place, but it just wasn't it, right? And, the 2 or 3 that helped me pay rent and take care of moms for that decade were what carried me into my 40s, and then I could be another version of myself, which is where we're at now,
Stop everything you're doing. If you love our podcast and are passionate about the future of luxury, don't forget to hit follow. The more followers we have, the bigger guests we can bring on. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where you're at then.
Yeah.
Because you have such an incredible story, and I truly admired the person you are. I don't think you know this story, but when I met you on that boat that Chelsea introduced us, and we had this amazing talk, after I continued walking, and someone asked me, like, tapped me on the shoulder, and he's like, hey, can you introduce me to that guy? And I'm like, I just met him, and I had a great conversation, but why? It's like, he used to manage Snoop Dogg. And I was like, that guy, like, we had the coolest conversation, so down to earth. You're like, just, hopefully there's more people that are like you in the world.
Oh yeah, there are, for sure. I mean,
there's so much true, like, realness in everything you say, and not only what you say, but what you do and everything that you bring around you, that it's just, it's brilliant. And every single person that you've put me in contact is just like another kind of reminder of that. And it's truly amazing how, and I don't doubt it. It's not that you've been lucky, I think, and you've been blessed, that sure, but it's also that you've been able to see those open doors, right? And this is something I always talk about, and a lot of people have had these comments towards things that have happened in my life as well, is like, you've just been lucky. And it's not about luck or being blessed, which that comes as well along with that, but it's also about understanding when there's an open door and going through it. And you've understood all those open doors, you see it, and even if I don't know what the hell I'm doing,
no, for sure,
I'm still going in and I'm still betting on that, and people see that, and that's why they sponsor you, right? And that's what, and now you do that for others, so it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm like, when I hear I manage Snoop, I don't even know if I call it that. Like, the dude just like took me under his wing, him and Constance, and just like showed me the world. You know what I mean? Like, so they taught me all this. They taught me how to see people like this. They taught me how to, you know, Snoop's one of the most amazing humans I ever met in my life. He's literally my big bro, you know, and so, you know, that just, usually when you meet people that, like you said, like, hopefully there's more people like me. Of course there are, you know what I mean? But most of the time they get shit on, you know what I mean? Because they see things and they do walk through those doors, and you are fearless, and you know, just because you're fearless doesn't mean you're not scared. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of those people get penalized because they, you know, they feel with their heart. They, you know, do business different. You know, they're focused on people and humans. They don't feel like everyone's replaceable. Like, all those business 101 kind of mantras, I don't believe in. You know, I don't believe that people are like everyone's replaceable. I don't believe that work is quantified the same way. You know what I mean? So for some people, their work is different. You know, if you're a different type of talent, your work's quantified different. Then some people have to do work another way. You know what I mean? I don't believe business isn't personal. Business is personal. Business is absolutely personal. If you go to any VC and you ask them what they invest in, they talk about the founder. They talk about the fucking founder, excuse me. You know what I mean? But when it's convenient for someone to screw you over, like, I've never heard business isn't personal except for right before or after I got fucked. Excuse me, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only time I've ever heard that. You've never just heard that in a room just like floating around. It's just like right before or after someone tried to like take from me, that phrase popped up.
That wraps up part 1 of this episode. The conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure to dive into part 2 for more insights, stories, and perspectives you won't want to miss. For weekly updates on future trends and the latest insights and data on the luxury industry, be sure to follow us on the Beyond Luxury's weekly Substack. Discover our bespoke trend reports and come to us for luxury futures consulting at Beyond Luxury Group.